Yes, and perfect. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Mandatory Fun Time, where we interview creatives on how like wonderful and amazing they are. Tonight's guest is going to be Hey Sam Sterling, who is an amazing human being. I am a huge fan of her work and everything. Granted, I this is the first time that her and I have ever like gotten the chance to actually hang out and like chat and like work on anything together. So I'm super excited to have you here. So yeah,
Oh, thank you so much.
absolutely.
Yeah, I just keep thinking about you just are so cool. And I'm like, oh, we just keep missing these opportunities to like game together
Yeah.
more and hang out. So I'm really glad that we get to do this.
Exactly, it's so good. So, okay. Admittedly, I'm a fan of your work, but I've only known about you for like a few months now. So I really don't have in-depth knowledge of you and what you've done. So this is really exciting for me. So I'm super hyped to get the chance to chat with you and get to know more about you. So first off, would you be able to tell us like about you, what you do, and your brand and everything?
Yeah. So my brand. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I really thought about that question. Let's see. So what's interesting about what I like to do is I just really love to role play.
Yeah.
So everything that I've done is taking the opportunity to role play, and I've been really lucky to have some amazing friends that are creators that have invited me on their channels to do whether it's tabletop or live stream larps. And that's really how I got started, was through friends. And I honestly didn't think I could do it.
Yeah.
And they kind of just believed in me. I was like, oh no, you would be great. And I got started, and then over the pandemic just did more and more and more. And then I was just doing all these different streams, and it's just so much fun to do. And I
Yeah.
just like every opportunity that I can like squeeze into my very tight schedule. I love anything. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. It's amazing. Okay, so you wear a lot of hats, nowadays. I see you like not only being an actress in front of the camera, but also helping out, production wise and organizing things and all that sort of stuff. It's really cool to see. But what is your actual origin story in content creation, or even role playing? Like, what makes Sam Sterling Sam Sterling?
Yeah. Well, let's see. So, how it all started was I moved up to LA for my day job,
Mhm.
and which is not anything creative at all. I'm an instructional designer, so I make
Oh,
courses
right
for,
on.
yeah, for like the technology industry. And I heard about a LARP that was up in the area,
Yeah.
and so live action role play for anyone who doesn't know. And I was like, I've always wanted to do something like that, because like make believe has just always been something that I love to do, right?
Yeah.
And I really was like, should I do this? I don't know, it seems like really physically strenuous, and I have a chronic illness, and it was like not really super under control at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I can do this. I think like, oh, maybe someday, like, oh, that'll be nice, that'll be nice. But I had some like bad stuff happen to my family and within the family during that
Yeah.
time, and it just really made me like assess everything. It's like, well, why not just go? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen if you go to a LARP for 3 days, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I finally, like, right after that event happened in my family, I was like, all right, I'm going to the next one, because like life's too short, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you got a LARP, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I went, and my first game, it was 105 degrees. I got heat sick, and I was like out for half of the weekend, but I loved it so much still with like all those things. I was like, I knew, I was like, I'm always going to be doing this,
You
because
like sold. Yeah.
yeah, like if I can LARP and like almost like pass out, but still have a great time, like I can LARP in any condition whatsoever.
Man, that is so cool. I always like wanted to be in LARPs. Like before I got into Dungeons and Dragons, I would look online for like local because I'm in Arizona, so I look for local Phoenix stuff. And I saw a lot of Vampire the Masquerade like LARPs and everything,
Yeah,
but I could never get in. No one ever responded to my emails or anything like that, which got me so bummed out. But that
I
is so
know.
cool to hear about like because it feels like LARPing is sort of like this secret like subculture that you have to know somebody in order to get in and all that. But it's really cool. That's awesome.
It's
And
interesting because the sad thing about LARP, oh, it's Michael in the comments. Hello, and hello everyone who came to watch. Yeah, the interesting thing about LARP, or the downside of LARP,
yeah,
is if you don't have a good LARP near you, it's like it's really hard to just start one yourself, right? There's
Yeah.
so much infrastructure. So I'm just really lucky to have one nearby, and things like, like you said, the vampire ones can be pretty inclusive and
Mhm.
hard if you don't know anybody. But I lucked out because the community here is so amazing and everyone's super talented. And from doing that, I met some folks that before the pandemic were thinking of like, how do we get LARP on Twitch?
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, so that was a kind of a crazy concept because like it's not game based, it's just like scene based,
Mhm.
it's not really necessarily gamified. And Ryan Omega, over with the Scabby Rooster, put together Blank Slate,
Yeah.
which is the very first thing I ever did, which was all just a live streamed LARP, like almost like black box theater
Yeah.
style. And it was like political fantasy intrigue. And really, the way I just told Ryan, I was like, I'll do anything, like I'll help out behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
um the what I did is the very first episode starts with the queen is dead, and you see this aerial shot, and I'm the dead queen.
Yeah.
And I was joking before the show, I was telling everyone, like, I'm glad I have this role because it's like my biggest talent is laying around doing
Yeah.
nothing.
Like yeah. Nice.
So that's the opening shot. You see me on the floor in this wedding dress, just sprawled out. And I was like, perfect. Like I'm contributing, but I don't have to like act. This is great. But as time went on and as the story just evolved,
Mhm.
they brought the queen back to life. And I'm like, oh shit, I
Yeah,
gotta
right. I
do
gotta
that.
do more than. No, you're good. You're fine. Yeah.
I was like, I gotta act now. Oh God. And but it was just so much fun. And like I think the thing was that, Ryan, the show's creator, like really believed that I could do it. And everyone that I met was just like so supportive
Yeah.
and creative, and watching other people do just improving these dramatic scenes. I was
Yeah.
just like inspired, right? I'm like, how do they do this? Right.
Yeah, it's amazing what can happen when creatives let other creatives flourish, when they could just it's a supportive community, because I feel like somewhere along the lines, because if you look at little kids, they're so creative and imaginative and
Yeah.
unabashedly they just like do it without any sort of like
No
knowledge of shame or
self-consciousness.
exactly, yeah. And then at some
Hmm.
point down the line they got like slapped with that sort of thing, as we all did, with like, no, you can't do that, that's weird. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
and nowadays
Middle school.
yeah, exactly, yeah, middle
That's when it
school.
happens.
So
Believe me, I know.
nowadays it's like we're finding like our second wind of creativity in tabletop
Yeah.
RPGs and all these different forms of being creative, so it's
Yes.
really cool. Yeah, so I sympathize a lot, or relate a lot with that, so that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I think that's only the only reason that I've been doing streams is because other people are just, like the collaborative community of creativity helps you grow in all these different ways. And after Blank Slate, there were a few other shows that I did with Ryan, and then PJ McGaw invited me to join Nat 20 Productions
Yeah.
with our weekly Pathfinder show. And that show is about a year old now. Gee.
Wow,
Yeah.
congratulations. Oh my gosh.
50th episode is next week.
Dang, time flies. Wow. That's so
Yeah.
cool. And then
Yeah.
okay, cool. So as a content creator, we can often find ourselves working beyond our limits and ultimately burning out. What are some of your own self-care techniques in order to ensure that your mental health is taken care of?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Especially like these days, right?
Yeah.
Stuff could get crazy. Self-care, let's see. Yeah, I definitely can get really busy just because, my day job's very demanding. But then on the flip side of that, I'm just like the creative brain, I'm sure, as you know, is just
Mhm.
always going, right? You
Yeah.
have ideas for this, you want to do this, you want to do that. And I have ADHD, so it can
Same.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, high
Yeah.
five,
Yeah.
distracted high five. What's over
Exactly.
there?
Yeah.
Okay. But so it can be really hard, right? To you just start always jumping between like whatever's most interesting to you at the
Yeah.
moment. And the thing I had to learn, well, I'm always continuously learning, is to go back to prioritization, right? Like
Yeah.
what matters most right now, and that you can't do everything, but you can
Hmm.
think about what's most important and do that thing now. And I'm definitely not perfect at it,
Yeah.
but and then in between, I just know that there's some things like rest and like mental rest that I just
Hmm.
can't compromise on because I'll just like lose it. Like
Yeah.
so sometimes it's just like, okay, all my, my friends know, bless their souls. They know that you text Sam, you might not hear back for a couple days.
And it's never because we're like we hate someone. It's just because we might see it and be like, I'll respond in a little bit, and then like time flies and everything. So I completely understand. Yeah.
That's
So
exactly it. And I try my best. I'm just like, okay, like right now, and then literally some other notification will pop up and be like, but what's happening here? And then
mhm.
it's just gone. So continuous struggle or continuous learning in a more positive
Yeah.
take on
I
life.
always love this question because I get different answers. Question: Are you Latinx?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I relate a lot to this, and I love the answers from a lot of like all of my guests, but the ones who are Latinx that find like a similar sort of vein in that, because I feel like for a lot of us who came from Latinx families, it's been ingrained in us to like work super hard, like to the bone, like
Yeah.
especially growing up, it was like there is no such thing as like mental health or self-care, that's like you getting a beer or you going for after women or something like that,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
now that we are like adults in this world where we can literally do so much now that we have the internet on our phones and all that kind of stuff, we burn out so quickly and so hard. And like especially for I don't know if it's the same with you, but for me with my ADHD, like the highs are high and the lows are super crazy, like low, like abysmally low and everything. So it definitely has been like a learning curve, at least for me. I don't know if it's been the same for you, for like being an adult and learning how to deal with having ADHD
Yeah.
along with our limits and being like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we need to slow down and all that. Sorry, go on.
No, yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking, like you said, like, oh, okay, like we're this generation that comes from this generation that's always like about
Hmm.
work and like, I like to think of it like we're the generation that gets to go to therapy.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly it.
Because like our parents didn't go to therapy and they might they
Yeah, and
but they should have.
it shows exactly, especially with the things that like they went through, because it's wild to because I'm fourth generation Mexican American.
Hmm.
So like my great grandfather came over, and then he had to deal with all that chaos, and then my grandmother had to deal with growing up, essentially was the first second generation, and then my
Yeah.
dad had to deal with like America, coming
Hmm.
into sort of like this racial tension sort of thing and all that kind of stuff, and then I was born into like a better sort of situation and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, none of them,
Yeah.
like they demonized therapy so much, and they went through so many hard times in their life, and it's
Yeah.
wild to think about. Like, granted, we have definitely big moments in our life, with 9/11,
Yeah.
COVID, Trump, all these like traumatic things that happened, like two recessions, I believe, and all
So
that kind of
many.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
They
So we
really
def
just gave us a whole bunch,
I
didn't
know. So
they?
we definitely have our share of everything, but
Yeah.
it's wild to be the generation that actually goes to therapy and to understand these different things. Like, oh, that's emotional manipulation. Like, oh, that is
Yeah.
narcissism. Oh, that's like and it's like I get it now. Okay, that's why I act this way. I'm a people pleaser because of childhood trauma due to like whatever. And it's like
Yeah.
wild. So,
It's so wild,
mhm,
especially like at this age. It starts to come up and it's like it's so crazy, especially like what you said, like being
mhm.
Latinx, like fourth generation. I'm third generation, but
Oh,
on
right
my
on.
dad's side.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar thing where like he was the generation that had went through the process of being Americanized,
Yeah.
and I'm the generation that didn't get to learn Spanish. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And then we're left with like this in between space of
Yeah.
who
Are we
are
brown enough for
we?
for our like people, and are we like white enough for our
Yeah.
peers, and like yeah.
Just this whole combination of like you have it. At what point do you lose like claim to that identity? You know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah.
been, I think, like especially for me being more like white passing
Mhm.
these days, like in the 90s, I was like a lot less white passing. And like for
Yeah.
some reason now in like 2020, like people are like, nah, she white.
Yeah. Mm.
Which is like cool. That's fine. Like I don't complain about it because, but it's so interesting the way like things change
Yeah.
slowly over time and the greater society decides to dictate who you are and like what you
Hmm.
get to do, what you get to say and all those things. And it's like my college degree is in anthropology, so I just
Yeah.
find it like all super interesting, like
Yeah. Same.
scientifically. There's like the personal level, and then there's like the social science level. I'm like, wow, interesting. Like, but I
Right.
wish people, would stop asking me, "What are you?" But like, also people don't ask that anymore. Not for the
And I
last 10
wish they
years.
did. Like, yeah,
Yeah, do
exactly.
I want them to? I don't know.
It's been so wild, and this will be the last thing. We'll move on to the next question, but like because I love this topic so much because it's such a genuine and real topic,
yeah,
but it's wild because all of my life, I don't know about yours and everything, but it's been that weird struggle. Am I Mexican enough to be for the Mexicans? Am I white enough for my peers? Especially when you throw in anime and video games and Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah.
I was so alone for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and to the point where I like hated my skin tone and hated my heritage because like all I was this sort of like weird middle ground and all that. But thankfully nowadays we're in a better place because thanks to Twitter and these events and like tabletop RPG community, we're
Yeah,
starting to find our people. Like even though like now I'm loud and proud about being brown. Like I will tell everyone like first thing that comes to my mouth, fourth generation Mexican American, because I'm like held it with pride. Even if I don't speak Spanish, I
yeah.
still love where I come from, and especially when I see other like peers, like you, for example, like be like, oh, she's brown and she's a champion, yes, and then like I'm here for it, So it's like
Yeah,
it's good to see us rise from that sort of weird rut,
absolutely.
yeah, that a lot of us were in, and
Especially
yeah,
because we have shared experiences like no matter what.
mhm,
And I think that's where it comes in with the, being Mexican
yeah,
versus when I really think about it, I like prefer to identify as Chicana because like
mhm,
that culture, at least my family has lived in, I don't know how much it relates to maybe like Arizona where you're in, but
yeah,
Southern California, like that has been a culture for so
yeah,
many
Chicano for
years.
exactly for
It's like
yeah,
the turn of the century. And it's like I know that if I go to Mexico, those people who have grown up there, their experiences are different than what
yeah,
my family's experiences
drastically,
are
exactly,
drastically. But also the Chicano culture is, or Chicane culture is
mhm,
huge and it's
yeah,
real. And, I belong there, like we
exactly,
belong
yeah.
there. So that's really a heartwarming thing. It's like, there's stuff that I'm sure like if we talked more about, growing up, I'm sure there's stuff that we have in common that like,
Oh,
because
for
like,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. And right now, like I have a very white boyfriend.
Mhm. I have a white fiance. She's from Utah. That's where they make white people. So yeah.
Yep, 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 yep. He's very white. And it's just so funny that like I'll get every now and then these little things that like kind of validate my identity
Yeah.
because he doesn't know what I'm talking about at all. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, you don't do that. You don't have that. What? Like he doesn't
Exactly.
know what La Chancla is. You've never heard of it in your life. I thought
Oh,
everyone had heard of it.
it was bad when I okay, this will be the last thing we move on. But like when I first met my fiance Alexia, and I came over to her house, they don't lock any of their doors because they live in upper like yeah, upper middle class. So it's a big old like yeah. And I grew up in South Phoenix, so which essentially the ghetto. So been robbed, been jumped, been all that kind of stuff. So I have my head on a swivel at all times. And she is so naive to all like her
Oh my god.
surroundings, completely,
Yeah.
yeah. So like I had to train her to like lock the door when she leaves the house because like oh my god,
That's
but
so funny because that's literally something my partner does.
oh
And that's
really, yeah,
yeah, and I literally like so there's this one time if you don't mind, I just gotta tell a
go
story
for
because
it, you're good,
this is a
yeah, you're
fun
fine.
one. So we kind of joke. I know it's not true, but we joke. We're like, like he's never had anything bad happen to him in his life. Because he just
Yeah,
acts that way, right?
yeah,
And so there he never locks his door. I mean, we're in an apartment complex. It's all like locked in, but still, right? Like
yeah,
it's still, you don't know who lives around here. And one night I was staying over and I was in bed. It was late. I was tired, and I just got this sense like I should get up and lock the door.
yeah,
Like I don't know why. Like I've been here before and like known it wasn't locked and like put that in the back of my head and been like,
those
but this
instincts,
time
yeah,
the instincts, right? I kind of like, all right, leave him over here. But this one time I was like, no, I'm gonna lock. You cannot go to sleep until you get up and lock his door. And I'm like, I don't want to. This is a conversation between me and myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm tired. Like, no, go lock it right now. Like,
Yeah.
fine. So I drag myself out of bed, like he's already asleep, and lock the door and I go back to bed. A few hours later, wake up 3 a.m. to somebody trying to open the door that exact night.
That is wild. Oh
Like,
my God.
and he's like, I've lived here for 3 years. No one's ever done that. And I was like,
Like, yeah, that's why we lock our doors. So make sure that never happens. It's like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
Just like the security, like instinct back in your head. So
Mhm.
it's just, that's the one I always tell. And I'm just like, see,
Yep.
bad
My
things
father
happen.
calls it ghetto senses, and that's exactly what it is. To be like, I'm not gonna get jumped today, so it's good.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
So
Yeah.
I know from the very like brief time that I've got to know you for like these past few months that you've accomplished so much during your career as a content creator and everything that you've worked on. But I also know, like anyone else, you've encountered your amount and have your fair share of L's. Now, the first woman that I ever interviewed, Eliana Murillo, beautifully put it that L's no longer stand for losses; they stand for lessons. So, what would you say
Mm,
would be one of the most impactful, biggest L's you've had in your career? Whether it was a situation where you had everything right, you were on your A game, on the ball, and something still didn't work out, and you're like, I have to take the L, or if it was a situation where you really did drop the ball and it was like, this is not my shining moment or not my best day, and you learned from it and grew from it.
yeah. Okay. That's really good. These are good questions.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I think in the sense of like streaming
Mm-hmm.
and tabletop, we'll start there. I think I might have a second one that's not related to that. But
Yep.
so I think a lesson that I learned that was really needed was sometimes your boundaries are not defined by what you want, but
Yeah.
like what your body physically needs.
Yeah.
So I remember I was doing my first like charity stream, and it
Mm-hmm.
was maybe 7 8 hours, and I, with my chronic illness, I start to kind of lose blood flow to my brain, like
Oh
literally.
wow. Yeah.
And it happens when I'm upright for a long period of time. So even if I'm just sitting for a few hours without really moving around, moving my legs, um, I'll start to kind of like get foggy, and my shoulders will hurt like really, really bad, and a lot of other random symptoms. And
Yeah.
I just, it was rough doing, and in my brain, I'm like, it's, people do this all the time. Like, you should be able to do this.
Yeah.
This is fine. Just like get through it. And
Power
I
through
got
it.
through
Yeah.
it. I did, but I realized after that it was like it it wasn't worth it
Mm.
to me to make that sacrifice for my body for
Yeah.
that, because I just start to lose who I am, really, because I just go into physically how
Mm-hmm.
I'm hurting, and how can I sit to be more comfortable,
Yeah.
and all those things. And so the big lesson I had there was like, if there's a charity stream, like I would love to do it, but I can't do, it's like having an accommodation, really,
Yeah. Like you
you
come
know,
first. You got to make sure you're taken care of before you help other people. Exactly.
for sure. And it's like I had to set a limit where it's like I could maybe do one of these like once a month, or I could do like half, but then be really wiped afterwards,
Yeah.
or do like half of the charity stream and then like switch off with somebody. And it on one level, I don't, I wish I didn't have to do
Yeah.
that because I want to do all the things all the time.
Yeah.
But on another level, it's like I'm not getting any younger. So yeah, it's just you've got to learn to put those in where you can, because otherwise, like you said, you're just going to burn out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think for maybe another more, I don't know if that one's positive, but another one that I learned, or I learned this lesson over and over again, and this will be really short, is just with my day job
Mm-hmm.
and where I work. The company I work at is really famous. But I'm not going to say
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
No
It's
worries.
a very famous technology company. A lot of people would like to work there, and I don't know how I got that job. Like, if I think about it, I'm like,
Because you're
how
worthy and
did this
valid.
happen? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but I think what I really learned from that is you literally just have to, it sounds so cheesy, right? But like shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
And it's like, think of your best case scenario, right? Like what is the best thing that can happen with
Yeah.
any given situation, whether it's applying for a job or like, I don't know, setting up your stream for the first time, talking to people you don't know on the internet. Hello,
Yeah.
people. And you just think, like, what's the best case scenario? And you just have to work towards that. And if it doesn't work out, you just do it again. You do it again. You do it again. And I think that's like honestly the best lesson I've ever learned in my life is just
Yeah.
like nothing get you down. Just keep going. Like if it does
Yeah.
get you
Shoot your
down,
shot. Yeah.
yeah, just like feel down for a bit. Okay. But then go do it again. And that's kind of the hard lesson and the good lesson kind of wrapped into one. So
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Perfect. And then, okay, so you answered this a little bit, but just in case there's something else you want to bring up, pivoting on the other end of the spectrum, what would you say one of your favorite W's are that you take the most pride in? Whether it be something simple in the beginning that you were like, this was really hard for me at the beginning, but like I got through it and it doesn't matter to anyone else but me, or if it's some huge accomplishment that you're like, I
mm,
worked really hard, I earned this, and this is what I'm most proud of. And again, this is your space, so feel free to promote yourself as much as you want to. If there's multiple
okay.
W's you want to talk about.
Okay. Okay. I think this might sound a little cheesy. I think anytime I make people laugh or like feel emotions
Yeah.
when I'm doing a character on like Nat 20 Productions, all right, here's the promo part. Edge of Legend, where Pathfinder 2e stream. I play a barbarian dwarf who is a luchadora.
Oh, that's
And
super cool.
yeah, she's real cute. And so we've been doing that show for a year, like I said, and there's been some times where I'm really in character, I'm just having fun, and I'll make some choices, and either I'll see the cast like have a visual, like a very strong reaction
Yeah.
to what I'm doing, whether they think it's hilarious, or there was a moment recently where we had to speak to a god,
Mhm.
and we had to give to this god our cringiest moment
Yeah.
in exchange for this item that we were all trying to get. And so I'm in character and I'm telling the god my cringiest moment, and I see everyone in the cast cringe so hard. And afterwards they're like, you did not have to go that hard, Sam. Like it hurt us. And anytime I have like a reaction like that, that feels like my biggest win,
Yeah.
because like I'm not a trained actor. Well, as of right now, I'm taking my first acting class this
Oh, right
week.
on. That's
So
good. Yeah.
yeah, after, if you watch this next week, I'll be a trained actor
There you go.
with
Ba-da-bum.
one class. Yeah. So yeah, so anytime like I really elicit something from people with a character that I'm doing, it's like I feel like that's my win, because it proves to me that like the what I love to do, which is role playing,
Yeah.
is something that I am good at. I don't think that to myself very often, but when I see it in other people's faces, I'm just like, yes, I can do
Yep.
this.
Yeah. It's like validation that like I have talent because not everyone can do that. So it's like super, super cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, that's
It's like,
awesome.
is it true? Do I have talent? And then I like watch people's faces. I'm like,
You're
I
like,
do.
hell yeah, I do. So good. Okay. And then so what are some geeky passions that fueled you and your creativity that made you who you are today? Like prior to getting into LARPing, were you already into anime, like, video games, any of that stuff? Or was this all like from LARPing that you explored all these different avenues?
Well, let's see. The root of LARPing was cosplay. I
Oh, cool. Yeah.
loved cosplay. I was never like the greatest or anything, but what I really loved about cosplay was the idea of you're making this outfit and you're becoming this character,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to look good, I'm going to go out, which is fine, that's cool, or it's a costuming challenge, which I did like that kind of stuff, like,
Yeah.
although I always made my cosplays at like the last second.
A lot of people do. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that the really the best thing about cosplay for me was finding a character that I really, really loved and connected with, and putting together that costume and really feeling like I got to portray that character. And then you
Yeah.
go out to the con and people are like, you know, in the other character, like in the show, there are other characters, they're doing the outfits, and like you meet up with each other, and like
Yeah.
almost like light role play, right?
Yep.
And that's the part I love the most. And sometimes I would go to a con and afterwards I feel like really bummed. I'm like, man, that's it. Okay, one more.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not enough. We need more. Yeah.
We need more.
What
And
conventions have you gone
yeah,
to?
um, I used to live in San Diego, so I would go to San Diego Comic Con every year. I was really
Oh,
lucky.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a staff volunteering spot a couple
Mm.
years after I started to go. So then after that, my tickets were always free. Thank you.
Dang, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was always going. It was really cushy. If you can get staff volunteering, it's
Mhm.
you have to interview for it after regular volunteering for a while,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. It's a couple hours more a day,
Yeah.
but like some of those hours you're spending in the air conditioning, and
Yeah.
it's the best deal you could get. Let's tell you. But so yeah, Comic Con was definitely the one I lived right there, so I go every year, and I think I've been up to WonderCon. I
Yeah.
think WonderCon might be my favorite con, though.
It's a good
To be
one, honestly,
honest.
because yeah, it's more manageable than San Diego
Yes.
Comic Con because San Diego Comic Con was a beast. Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you what years have you gone? Because I feel like it's one of those weird situations where we've probably been in the same room before, but we just didn't know it. Because
The
like
same giant convention room.
exactly, yeah. But we at one point we had to go to the food truck, so we probably like
Yeah.
were in
Yeah.
line for hot dogs. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when was the first year. I bet like if I do a Google, I can find out immediately, but I'm not gonna Google on stream. Um it it was sometime around like I remember I wanted to go to Comic-Con
Yeah.
a certain year, and I waited too long, a few months, and then they were out of tickets.
Yeah.
And then the next year, Twilight came out, and I
Oh
waited a
wow.
month, and tickets were sold out after a month, and that was crazy for them to be sold out after a month, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like a week, and they were sold out, and I didn't get to go. And finally, I got tickets maybe like that next year,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. But at that point, it was like you click the button within 10 seconds.
Sold out. Yep.
Yeah, it's just crazy because like I wanted to go right before that started to happen. It was really wild to
Yeah.
see it blow up the way that it did, which
In
is
the
still cool.
future, if you ever want to go and don't want to be staff/volunteer, always let me know because I run a website called thegeeklife.com, and that's mainly where I've like gone to conventions and like gotten deep into the cosplay world because I go to conventions and review them and everything like that. So I'm on the press list for San Diego Comic Con and a bunch of other ones. So I get the all weekend passes for free and everything. So if you like ever want to go, just let me know and I can always like send you that stuff because
Nice.
yeah, so it's, any way I can help the homies like
I love
enjoy
that.
their stuff. Yeah, because like yeah, because I like, and this kind of goes back to what you said for the like L's and all that kind of stuff where you just knew
Mm-hmm.
that you were doing too much, you were sacrificing literally your body for these events, you know, these charity events, like being a martyr and all that kind of stuff. And I like relate to that heavily because like on my end I would go to, I thought that like if I keep going to as many conventions as possible, it will equal to more success, you know, for these different
Mm,
things, you know. And
yeah.
it broke me financially,
Oh yeah.
mentally, physically, you know, all that kind of stuff. So nowadays, it's definitely a situation where you got to pick and choose what, you know, what is like what you want to do and what is worthy for you, you know,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Cause like, and that's not everything. So yeah, cause I love WonderCon. So that's definitely
Mm-hmm.
on my list of like conventions to go to. It's like probably WonderCon, Anime Expo, and then like now Gen Con and then BlizzCon are
Yeah.
like the major ones that I like love and adore. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Since you're a cosplayer, what was your favorite cosplay that you've ever done?
My first cosplay that I did at a con, which
Mhm.
was Asami Sato from Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
And
Oh, right on.
yeah, I did her whole like in season one, her whole outfit. And then 2 days before the convention, I said, um, I want an equalist glove. Do you know what those are?
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if
absolutely.
you've seen the show. Yeah. So I'm like, I want an equalist glove. Can I make it? And like, I don't have any money left. Can I just make it out of junk? And I did. in under 2 days, and I
Yeah.
made it light up and everything. And I remember,
Wow.
yeah, like the light on the outside's green, and I was like, what do I have that's green? And my roommate had like a Mountain Dew bottle, and I
Yeah.
cut it up, and I heated it, and it got all crinkly, and I didn't mean for it to do
Oh.
that, but it
Yeah.
looked great. And I think still to this day, if you like Google equalist glove or like Asami equalist glove, I'm like in like the top 3 results. And like I'm like, that's my proudest
Dang.
accomplishment of my
Yeah.
entire life.
That's how it always goes. It's like some cosplayer will work for like a whole year on their costume, and then another cosplayer will work for like 2 days on their piece, and it's like the 2 day one, boom, like it's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And I think one of the things about that costume too, aside from it just being like my first and like very complete and like a great like crafting accomplishment, was just the community of people in like the Avatar fandom are
Yeah.
just so good.
Hmm.
They're so wonderful. And I remember the the person who does like the fight coordinating for the animation
Yeah.
came out to the crowd of fans and was like showing us how to pose in like the different stances, and like he's just so nice
Yeah.
to everyone who was there, and everyone who saw you who knew what it was would be like, ah. Yeah, I just love that. I love fan energy, and I that's it's something I am really sad we've not really gotten to experience this past year, because it's something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love conventions so much. It's wild and chaotic, but they're still like good. It'll be interesting to see how they are post COVID, Because even because Gen Con's happening this year in person.
Mm-hmm.
And then like my conventions in Arizona are coming back next year, or even like later this year and everything. So it's wild to especially when you see pictures of like San Diego Comic Con or Anime Expo with all the bodies like gathered
Oh
together,
yeah.
like sardined.
Yeah.
And
After this year,
yeah,
I'm like, no wonder I got sick after every convention. You're breathing
con
everyone's
crud.
air, hundreds of
Exactly.
thousands of people's air directly.
Especially when you're like next to someone and you're like, oh, you didn't take a shower for a few days. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna wear masks to conventions from now
Oh,
on. Cause like
absolutely. Never again am I going to breathe con air.
yeah. Ooh. Oh my god. Okay. So let's say you could go back in time to one of your most vulnerable moments as you're sitting next to like a younger version of yourself, Sam, and you might feel inadequate, to your peers. You might feel very vulnerable and all this sort of stuff. What advice would you give yourself to be like, look, I know the road ahead of you is going to be very difficult in various ways, but here is something like a piece of wisdom that'll make your journey just a little bit easier. What would you say to yourself?
Oh man. Oh, that's rough. um, hmm. I think I think I would go back to high school. I think it was high school. I'm trying to remember. I went through a lot of sad girl times
Yeah.
back in high school times. And I just lived in a place that, like I was the weird one, which is, now I live in a community of wonderful, creative, weird people,
Hmm.
which is fantastic. But back then I was the weirdo.
Yeah.
And, I was just very stifled creatively.
Yeah.
There, when you're living in like maybe like a suburb, and there's like a lot of people judging you for the way you are, like how much
Hmm.
money you have, all of this stuff. And it just was it brought me down, and like
Yeah.
a lot, like emotionally. And I think I would go back and just be like the person that you are, like the you and the weirdo and the things you want to do and your creativity and your dreams, like that's valuable and wonderful, and you should hold on to those things and not temper it for anybody else,
Yeah.
whether it's to make someone comfortable or make people, like if people don't really understand, just let that stuff fly, and you will find other people. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
You will find other people that vibe with that,
Hmm.
even if they're not around you right now, so long as you hold on to that and you just keep like moving towards it however you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in those younger years when we were like forced into an elementary school or a high school, that can seem like the whole world at that time. And then when you get out of there, you're like, oh, now I can find my own people. And then you just like you thrive so much easier.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's so good. Okay. And then where can we find you online?
Is it already over?
Almost. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it is already over, thank you so much. But find me online. Let's see. Um, all online. I am at Hey Sam Sterling. I think Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I don't use Instagram that much anymore
Your
because I
TikToks
don't
are
know
amazing,
why.
by the way. They're like super, super good.
Thank
Yeah.
you. TikTok has been one of those things where I I love it because my mind works in memes constantly. And that's what TikTok wants. It wants memes. So
Yeah.
if you just let meme, they'll eat it up.
Hmm.
Eat it up.
That's what I'm definitely finding. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
So
super cool.
it's been great to get out that little like comedy, like 5 second comedy I have in my head that no one else wants to listen to.
Especially when you're like, dang, I wish I could be on the Vine train. And now it's like, boom, TikTok. It's like
Yes.
second wave. So
For
good.
sure. But yeah, and then Twitter, I mostly, if you want to see what I'm doing on stream, I always post on there. What what the schedule is. I was doing a lot of shows in the past few months that are over now, so we'll see what's happening in the future. Some stuff coming up, but can't. I don't think I have anything
Your
to
Pathfinder
plug
show?
yet. The Pathfinder for sure. Yes. So that's an ongoing show, Pathfinder 2E. We are on Nat 20 Productions Official on Twitch. So just write down Nat 20 Productions Official. If I can spell official. There you go. It's in the chat.
Perfect.
But so yeah, so we play Pathfinder. It's a diverse cast, a diverse world. We have characters based on like Aztec Chicano culture, is my
Oh,
character,
wow. Yeah.
and characters based on like African culture,
Mm.
all these different places. And it's just really great world. Our DM PJ is fantastic. He's such a good storyteller,
Yeah.
and his voices are so good. He does everything from like a grandma voice to a little boy to like the goblin, and like he's so talented. Go watch him. Like you don't need to watch it for me. Go watch it for him. But
No,
yeah,
you're a
every
luchador, so I'm
Wednesday.
definitely gonna watch it for you. You're like, that's so good.
Yeah. And we're in her hometown right now. She's doing the Royal Rumble. And
Oh, nice.
yeah. So if you want to see her fight to get her belt back, her championship belt, that's gonna be next week.
So good. 5-star
Yeah.
frog splash. You got to do it for Eddie and all that. So yeah. Okay. So have you ever seen one of these interviews before? And no worries if not.
I have not.
Okay. So there's something that I do at the end of each interview where I take a moment to like be genuine, be real with my guests and everything. So for the next few minutes, you cannot refute anything, you can't deny anything or anything like that. So
Is this praise session?
what? No, it's no, it's fine, it's fine. So Sam, I want to say thank you from the very bottom of my heart and soul for having the courage to be who you are, because in my eyes you are a champion like of Latinx people. Like as we had talked about, we grew up in a very like tension filled time where we didn't find ourselves, it wasn't okay to be ourselves and everything like that. And through therapy, hard work, all this sort of stuff, you've risen up to be this champion and be this wonderful human being, this beautiful, wonderful, creative, talented human being who is thriving, and everyone like wants to work with. Every single person I talked to you about has said nothing but good things. You have earned such an amazing reputation, and I know that you are going to inspire so many people from here on out, who are going to be small little brown geeks, and they're going to look up and see Sam Sterling as one of the people they could become, if they, work hard enough and everything like that. And I want to thank you for legitimately, like, being alive, being in our community and everything you do, because you are changing lives. And I look up to you, dude. You're amazing.
Oh
And,
no.
and
Oh
yeah,
wait, that was refuting. I can't say that.
and that is my little piece of genuine. Those are your roses, that you get. So
Oh,
thank you so much for everything you do. And
I'm gonna cry. What do I have to hide my face? Nothing. Alas, I will
exactly.
cry on camera. That's so nice. That's so nice. I like if I can do that for any single person, that's amazing. So
Yeah,
I just hope so. And I my big thing is I love creative people. I just
yeah.
like I want to be around creative people. I want to like lift them up to do
Mhm.
the things they want to do. And just I hope that I can bring whatever positivity is contained in this 5-3 package to you and to
Yeah.
others. And I hope that we have lots of chances to game together and do
Oh, for sure.
things.
Yeah.
And Comic-Con will go.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll definitely be at WonderCon, so we'll have to have like a meetup after all this. So
Yes.
it'll be good. And then yeah, okay. So I want to thank you guys for being here, for enjoying. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Make sure to follow Sam on Hey Sam Sterling on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. She does a lot of awesome content, and check out and Nat 20 Productions official and everything. And we will see you guys later. And hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.